Hi, my name's Trudy. I am Australia's happiness technician. I've been doing this business game for about 10 years and had some really mixed results. And I know that a lot of that was because of my own mental health challenges, my own uh, beliefs around what business was and could be, and the identity that I brought to my business. So today I'm going to share a few different things about business, depression, anxiety, and how you can work with these things so they don't actually stop you from doing what it is that you want to do with whatever it is that you've created. And first of all, for those of you that do have anxiety, do suffer from depression, do feel like a fraud in your business, whatever it is that shows up that holds you back, I want to celebrate you and congratulate you because you're still going. If you're here watching this, there's something in you that is bigger than the little voice inside your head that tells you that you can't, that you can't do business, you're not good enough, your self-worth stuff. Now, this is a topic that I could absolutely rabbit on about for hours, but I won't. I've been asked to keep this to about half an hour. Wish me luck. So I'm going to talk to you about the things that I wish I had have known when I first started out and give you some tips and tools to be able to keep progressing and moving forward. Because right now the world needs you. The world needs us all. We all have a unique opportunity to really stand up, step up, rise up, whatever your best language is for that, and to make a difference. So let's talk about the why, your big why. And going back 10 years ago, I didn't actually plan on ever starting a business. But in my previous career, my corporate job, national sales manager, I'd always felt like a fraud. And I don't even, to this day, I don't even know how I got to the top job. And in that energy of being burnt out, made redundant, all of these things, I came to starting a business with probably not the best energy. It was more of a means to an end, to not have to go back to a soul sucking job because I was exhausted and I was burnt out. So this is step one. There'll be a few steps. Step one, but being really aware of your why and really wrapping some bigger meaning around that. Because one thing that I've found for me personally is when I'm having those moments where inner critic voice kicks in, where I'm feeling tired and flat, where I'm wondering, who am I to show up and make a difference? Going back to that big why and making it bigger than me makes such a huge difference. So, for example, my first business was coaching teenagers and running games programs and creating all this cool stuff for that. But parents weren't investing. So I took that back on myself as that I was a failure. I wasn't doing it right. There was something wrong with me. But the why for me wasn't right. In hindsight, I can see now with the first business that I set up, it was really more about healing myself and my own inner child. So the why wasn't quite right. And the beautiful thing about business is if you've started a business and it doesn't feel quite right, you're allowed to evolve. And I know I pushed and pushed and pushed this first business, which was struggling because I'd never seen myself as a business owner, and I'm going to talk about that next. I didn't have the right identity. I wasn't working with the right people. My healing wasn't anywhere near where it needed to be to feel worthy around having a business. But it really was about, healing my own inner child. So when you're struggling with your why, you can ask yourself, is this for me or is this for a bigger purpose? What healing am I looking for in the work that I'm doing right now? And then go heal, go get a solution. Because it's one thing to go, oh, I need to fix this thing, or this isn't working, or this has come up and I don't feel great about that, and to have knowledge of it. But the next thing is to go and heal. And being aware that your why does shift and change. So if you need to transform, change, elevate, work some magic in your business, go and do that, right? But I know because my business was struggling, I was really struggling. And I really want you to understand as we move into the identity section of what I want to talk about, you are not your business. And say it again. You are not your business, right? It's great to have a purpose. It's great to have a why. But if you have challenges with anxiety and depression, and then you turn your business into your identity, so I'll use the Dream Initiative, which was my first business. I am the Dream Initiative. The business is me. Like, if the business doesn't work, it means I've failed. You want to wrap that one open, have a look in that box, and separate the two. Your business is what you do. And sometimes things don't work out how you want, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you are a bad person. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that you've been courageous and you've had a go, and you've got access to lessons and learnings. And speaking of identity, so the why, the identity is a huge thing. So like I said earlier, I went into business to escape what I didn't want. I'd never sat in the identity of being a business owner. That hadn't even crossed the radar for me until I went to a personal development event and got made redundant, and then was like, what am I going to do? I might as well start a business, right? I don't want to go back to doing this soul destroying job that I'm doing. So I didn't go into business with the right mindset. And so with your business, I really want you to separate yourself from it, but still have the identity of a business owner. I think it's really important. I think that's something that is really, really overlooked, because the assumption is made, if you have a business, you're a business owner. But if you haven't sat in that energy, you haven't visualized it, you haven't thought, who am I as a business owner? What are my values as a business owner? What's important to me? That's when things do go wrong, that can trigger your anxiety, can leave you feeling depressed and frustrated. That's when they escalate, because the identity and the actions and the things that you're doing don't match up. And when things work out, that's a double whammy, or don't work out, it's a double whammy of like, I'm a failure, right? So my first business, that was for my healing. But it gave me the skills. And so if you do want to change your business, but you're sitting here going, I can't do it, it triggers my anxiety, I feel depressed, I feel like a failure. Now I've lost my train of thought. It's okay. You're allowed. You take the lessons from your first business, filter them, and see what you can take to your next business if you're changing or upgrading, and be okay with that. I know so many people who are in business who what they're doing now was not what they started with. And it's so important that when you're working in your business, you have the identity and you honor yourself in that space. And your business needs to match your values. And now I want to talk about the third thing that when I learned this, it made a huge difference. And I'm just watching the time so I don't talk for too long, is self-sabotage. And this is why the identity work, and for those of you who journal or like to daydream like me, is really important that you are very aware of your energy in business. And I know when you're feeling really depressed, it can be really hard, or feeling really anxious, it can be hard to be in the right energy. What has this got to do with self-sabotage? I'm getting there, I promise. But it's really important to understand that and get support to help you with that if you can't manage your own energy. Because our cells, our physical body is made up of cells, and those cells vibrate and they put out a frequency, and like attracts like. So your frequency attracts to you what is a match to that frequency. And this is why it's really important to be doing the things that uplift you, elevate you, and support you to feel better because your cells eat the emotion that you're experiencing the most powerfully at the time of the cells dividing. And the more those cells divide, the more that emotional food is in your body, and the more cells of that you have. If you stop feeling that emotion, those cells will start creating things in your life to feed it that emotion. So working on your mental health is more important. Working on your emotional state, working on your feelings is more important than working on strategy. I know I'm not going to be popular for saying that with some coaches out there, but the biggest mistake I made when I started business, I was so focused about sales and strategy and setting things up and having a hustle and doing it right and just push, push, push. I wasn't looking after what was going in here. And after 4 years of business, I was exhausted, burnout, broken, depressed, and I was actually at the point of starting to self-harm again, which is something that I've done in my 20s, teenage years, and in my 30s, and I'm 46 now for context. So we want to be aware of that inner game. So we're feeding our cellular body good emotional food because it will want to keep feeding that emotional food. So it'll keep creating things to feed that emotional food in our cellular body. So the inner work is critical. I don't care if you spend 75% of your time doing the inner work and 25% on the strategy and the posting and the actions. Because if you're not doing the work in here, the rest of your results are going to struggle. Now, that's a generalization. I know there's always exceptions to the rule, but please do the inner work. And let me talk about the fourth step, foundations. And this ties in with your why, your identity, sabotage, and all of those things. If you don't have the right foundations in place, and I'm talking from a universal law, spiritual, energetic perspective, you can still be successful. But chances are, and I've seen this with people, they've pushed and pushed and hustled and pushed and pushed and pushed and forced, and yeah, they've got the result, but it feels hollow, they're lacking fulfillment, they're tired, they're anxious, and they're depressed, and they're so worried about everything falling down because the foundation isn't there. Now, I am a huge component. I discovered spiritual law, universal law, about 18, 20 months ago, and it was the piece that locked everything into place. So I am a particular fan of, obviously, law of vibration, law of attraction, and I think most people know those, but I would encourage you to research law of repulsion, law of cause and effect, and for those of you that do your own marketing, the law of polarity and the law of divine compensation. I think that's a law of correspondence, but law of divine compensation as well. So when we look at these, they're metaphysics, they're the laws of the universe. And so cause and effect, for example, when I was sitting in the identity of depression, and I truly believe that that was an identity, and when I did the work, that identity shifted. And I could go into a whole heap of physical, mental, and emotional things here, but I won't at this stage. Hopefully, I'll get invited back to do another piece for you. But when I was looking at where I was even 5 years ago, when the first business was shut down, 4 or 5 years ago, and I was contemplating a razor blade, I was at effect. And when I really stepped back and really understood the power of being at cause, and how that impacted my ability to make more empowered decisions, how it really supported me to release depression, and how all of these things really helped me with my anxiety. It made a huge difference because I made the decision, depressed, anxious, stressed or not, that I was going to be responsible, radically responsible, completely 100%. I was taking responsibility for what was happening then, now, and in the future of my life. Took some time, had to do the work, and I'll talk about daily practice. Had to keep doing the work on myself, on my identity, my why, my cellular body, really embrace those foundations, and very consciously, when things came up, make the decision in the moment, because it really boils down to decisions and choices in anything. Make the decisions where I took responsibility and I chose the right outcome. And that was stepping back. I used to be the biggest victim, such a victim, right? But that was really stepping back and going, okay, regardless of anything, how did I create this? What was my energy in the moment? What am I blocking and denying myself from allowing myself to receive? And what can I do differently? So, yes, I understand when we're depressed, when we're anxious, whatever, it impacts our ability to get out of bed sometimes. And I know with anxiety, you know, it just I don't even know how to decide. But our ability to make decisions in these moments is super powerful. And when you tie those decisions into universal law, into those metaphysical things, the foundation that you get from that, it's unshakable. I cannot encourage you enough to start researching universal law, metaphysics, spiritual law, whatever. It comes under all of those things, right? Because once I got that foundation, look, I get it. I still have moments where anxiety can pop up. I still have moments where I sit back and I go, am I depressed right now? Or is this just a heavily programmed and conditioned response in my brain and body that I'm still releasing, right? And if I didn't think I was depressed or anxious, what could I do in this moment? If I didn't think I was depressed or anxious, what could I do in this moment? Give yourself some spaciousness. Just be curious. What could I do? And that quite often can be enough to trigger off the thoughts to allow you to step out of the anxiety and depression into taking action on what you want. So I know you've got access to brilliant business strategists and everything. And I suppose by agreeing to do this, I really wanted you to know that depression and anxiety doesn't have to rule your business. If you set up your why, if you do daily work on your identity, and I'll do daily practice last, if you're aware that your emotions feed your cellular body, which can create sabotage, and you understand the foundations of the universe, it really is going to support your business to go. So with all of this stuff, where does daily practice fit into this? Now, everyone's going to have their best times for their contemplation, for their journaling, for all of these things. But here's some suggestions. I'm going to share what I do as a starting point. Daily ritual. Now, I've healed my God trauma. I had some pretty big religious trauma growing up in my primary school years. So I healed my God trauma, which has allowed me to really connect into universal law. So every morning I pray. So you can pray to God, you can pray to the universe, pray to soul, but every morning I pray for divine guidance. I've removed my separation through that to something bigger than me, because sometimes you might have a big why, but you still feel disconnected. So that was my experience, healing the God wound. I pray every morning. I'm not a huge write down journaler, I'll admit that, but I'm a big daydreamer. And whether you're journaling or daydreaming, you really need to feel it. So it's really just give yourself permission to feel good about your ideas and your thoughts and where you're going and what you want to do, and allow yourself to be excited, because celebration is one of the highest vibrational energies. And that's the kind of stuff that when we're depressed, we definitely don't do, because who are we to celebrate ourselves, right? But this is the beautiful thing. Our cells don't know if we're celebrating ourselves or someone else. So every opportunity you want to celebrate something, be excited about something, be amazed by something, and start elevating yourself, right? So I pray, I journal, I look for inspiration. I don't give myself more than 5 things to do a day. And I allocate a time frame to those things to get them done. Because one of the biggest things we do for our depression and our anxiety and our mental health, one of the most horrible things we can do is overload our task lists and get to the end of the day and feel like we haven't gotten anything done. And realistically, I've been doing this since last year. I noticed that all the busy for the sake of being busy stuff disappeared and my results actually improved. And the whole thing is, there is actually nothing to prove. If you get up and you do your best every day, you show up every day, even if it's for 10 minutes, put a post up online and that's it, you've done more than what a lot of other people do. So your daily practice plays a huge part in that. One of my mentors, he said to support his depression, he makes a point, and he still does it. He watches 10 minutes of comedy a day. Feeds the cells, feeds the soul, has a laugh, feels good. So it's called personal medicine. So make sure you're working on your own personal medicine, those things that bring you joy. Because you don't have to work 24 hours a day. It doesn't actually prove anything. It just burns you out. Or it might prove to the negative voice in your head that it was right because you're so tired now you can't actually get anything done. But it really is an inner game. The law of correspondence, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. How you're feeling reflects out and shows up in what you see around you. And I want you to know that you are worthy of having a successful business. You are worthy of having a beautiful life. You are worthy and you are allowed to make a lot of money in your business. And you're allowed to change things if you want. You write your own rule book. And depression, anxiety, they're markers. They're markers on the journey. And you can do the work to let it go or not. Totally up to you. But I hope by sharing my experiences after 10 years in business and giving you a taste of some of the things that I've done to be able to still be in business and still feel good about being in business and to be doing what I love, I really, really hope that helps and supports you. So any questions, let me know. And once again, I just want to celebrate you because like I said, you've done what so many other people have only ever dreamed of doing. And that's committed to yourself to take an action by starting a business to do something amazing for yourself and for the people around you. And that is beautiful. Peace out, everyone.